5 years ago, I made the worst decision of my life. Or the best. I still can't tell. I was 23, fresh out of a technical program for audio engineering, and I had a job offer. A real one. From a recording studio downtown that worked with independent musicians, podcasters, audiobook narrators. The pay wasn't great, $38,000 a year, but it was doing something I loved. Something I was actually good at. My father, Robert, had other plans. He owned an insurance brokerage. Mid-sized, successful enough, but struggling. The market was changing. Everything was moving online, and he was stuck in his old school ways. Cold calls, paper files, lunches with clients who were all approaching retirement age, just like him. He'd always assumed I'd join him, take over eventually. Keep it in the family, he'd say. Usually during dinner, usually after a few drinks. I'd never wanted that. Not once, but I'd never said it out loud. I just avoided the conversation, deflected, changed the subject, until I couldn't anymore. It was a Sunday. We were at his house, the house I grew up in, for dinner. My mom had passed away when I was 16, cancer. After that, it had just been the two of us. And after I graduated high school, just him in that big house, alone. He made pot roast. We ate in silence for a while. Then he said, "I've been thinking about your future. Okay, I want you to start at the office. Monday, I'll set you up with a desk, show you the ropes. You'll start with admin work, learn the systems. In a year, maybe 2, you'll be selling. And eventually, when I retire, it's yours." I set down my fork. "Dad, I have a job." "That sound thing? That's not a job, Mark. That's a hobby." "It's a real job. I start in 2 weeks." He laughed. Not a happy laugh, a dismissive one. "Doing what? Playing with knobs? Recording garage bands? That's not a career. It's what I want to do. It's a waste of your potential." "My potential?" I felt my voice rising. "Or your plans?" His face hardened. "I built this business from nothing. I did it so you'd have something, so you wouldn't have to struggle like I did. And you're throwing it away for what? To be some starving artist?" "I'm not throwing anything away. I'm choosing my own path." "Your own path." He said it like the words tasted bad. "You think you're special? You think you're better than this? Let me tell you something, Mark. The world doesn't care about your dreams. It cares about money. Stability, security, and I'm offering you all of that. But you're too arrogant to see it. I'm not arrogant. I just don't want to do what you do, because you think it's beneath you." "I never said that. You didn't have to." He stood up, throwing his napkin on the table. "You know what you are? You're a disappointment. I thought I raised someone with sense, someone with loyalty. But instead, I got a dreamer who thinks he's going to make it big doing whatever the hell it is you do." I stood too. "I'm trying to build a life I actually want to live." "Then build it somewhere else." His voice was cold, final. "If you walk away from this family business, you're walking away from this family. I won't have a son who disrespects everything I've worked for." "Dad, get out." "You don't mean that." "I mean every word. Get out." I left. I grabbed my jacket and I left. And I didn't look back. I told myself he'd call, that he'd cool down and realize he'd overreacted, that we'd talk it out like adults. He never called. I waited a week, then 2, then a month. I called him once, about 2 months after the fight. He didn't answer. I left a voicemail. "Dad, it's me. Can we talk, please?" He never responded. I tried again at 6 months. Same result. After a year, I stopped trying. What was the point? He'd made his choice. I'd made mine. And apparently, that was it. 23 years of being his son, erased over a career decision. Life went on. The studio job was good, really good. I worked under a guy named Eddie, mid-40s. Been in the industry for 20 years. Knew everyone. He taught me everything. Microphone placement, EQ, compression, how to talk to artists without crushing their egos. Within 2 years, I was running sessions on my own. Within 3, I was freelancing on the side, building my own client base. At year 4, I had enough saved to rent a small space and set up my own studio. Nothing fancy. A converted garage with soundproofing, decent equipment, and a reputation that was slowly growing. I was making it work. Not rich, but stable. Paying my bills. Doing something I loved. But I thought about my father constantly. Every time I landed a new client, I'd think, I should tell Dad. Every time I finished a project I was proud of, I'd think he'd be impressed by this. Every birthday, every holiday, I'd sit alone in my apartment and wonder if he was thinking about me too. I never reached out again. Pride, maybe, or fear. Fear that he'd reject me a second time, and I wouldn't survive it. I dated. A few relationships here and there. Nothing serious. One woman, Jess, lasted about 8 months. We broke up because she wanted kids and marriage, and I couldn't even think about family without feeling sick. "You're emotionally unavailable," she said when she left. "You're carrying around this weight. and until you deal with it, you're not going to be able to let anyone in. She wasn't wrong. I had friends, mostly people from the industry. We'd grab drinks after sessions, talk shop, complain about difficult clients. But I kept them at arm's length. I didn't talk about my father. I didn't talk about my past. I just focused on work, and I told myself I was fine. Tonight started normal. I was in the studio, working on a podcast edit for a client. True crime stuff. The host had a good voice, but terrible pacing. So I was cutting silences, tightening transitions, making it flow. It was around 9 p.m. when my phone buzzed. I almost didn't check it. I was in the zone, headphones on, completely focused. But something made me glance over. A text notification from Dad. My heart stopped. I pulled off my headphones, picked up the phone with shaking hands, and opened the message. I'm sorry for everything. 5 words. That's all it was. 5 words that shattered 5 years of silence. I just stared at it. My mind was racing. He was apologizing. After 5 years, he was reaching out. He was admitting he'd been wrong, or at least that he was sorry. I felt tears welling up. I'm 28 years old, sitting in my studio, and I was crying like a kid. All the anger I'd been holding on to, the bitterness, the resentment, the hurt, it just evaporated because he was sorry. He still cared. He still thought about me. I didn't even question it. I didn't think, why now? Or what changed? I just felt this overwhelming wave of relief. He was sorry. That's all that mattered. I typed back immediately. My hands were trembling so badly, I had to retype it twice. It's okay, Dad. I love you. I've missed you so much. I hit send, and then I waited. The 3 dots appeared. He was typing. I held my breath. This was it. This was the moment everything changed. We'd talk. We'd reconcile. We'd fix this. The dots disappeared. A new message came through. Who is this? I read it 3 times. Who is this? What? No, that didn't make sense. He'd texted me. He'd sent, I'm sorry for everything to my number. How could he not know who I was? I typed back, my hands no longer shaking, just cold, numb. It's Mark. Send. The dots appeared again, then vanished, then appeared, then vanished. A full minute passed. Then, Mark? Mark who? My chest felt hollow. Mark, your son. Send. The dots appeared. They stayed there for what felt like an eternity. 2 minutes, maybe 3. And then the message came through. The one that explained everything. The one that broke me completely. I'm so sorry. I have a new phone. I must have typed in the wrong number. My Mark is my partner. This apology was for him. I'm getting married. I apologize for the confusion. I sat there, staring at the screen. He hadn't been apologizing to me. He'd been apologizing to someone else. Someone also named Mark. His partner, his fiancé, and I, his actual son. His flesh and blood was just a wrong number. A stranger who'd accidentally received a message meant for the person my father actually loved. I don't know how long I sat there. The podcast edit was still open on my screen, frozen midway form. My phone was in my hand, the conversation still on the screen. I read the messages again and again. I'm sorry for everything. It's okay, Dad. I love you. I've missed you so much. Who is this? Every time I read it, it hurt more. My father had moved on, completely. He had a new life, a new partner, a new Mark, and I wasn't part of it. 5 years ago, he'd told me I wasn't his son anymore, and apparently he'd meant it, because in all that time, he hadn't thought about me once, hadn't wondered how I was, hadn't regretted the things he'd said. He'd just replaced me. I should have responded. I should have said something, anything. But what was there to say? Congratulations on your engagement. I'm happy for you. Thanks for confirming I don't matter to you. I just stared at the screen until it went dark. At some point, I got up and left the studio. I don't remember locking the door or getting into my car. I just remember driving. I ended up at a park near my apartment, the same park I used to go to as a kid. My mom would take me there on weekends. We'd feed the ducks, play on the swings, have picnics on the grass. I sat on a bench and looked at my phone again. The contact was still there. Dad, with his number, his photo, an old one from years ago, before the fight. I held my thumb over it. All I had to do was press delete, but I couldn't, because deleting it felt like admitting it was over, like closing the door permanently, and I wasn't ready for that. I called my friend Ryan. It was almost midnight, but he answered anyway. Mark, you okay? No. What happened? I told him everything. The text, the response, the revelation. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Jesus, man, I don't even know what to say. Yeah. You want me to come over? No. I just needed to tell someone. You sure? Yeah. Okay. But call me if you need anything. I mean it. Thanks. I hung up. I went home, climbed into bed, stared at the ceiling. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, trying to find some other explanation, some way it could mean something different. But there wasn't one. My father had moved on, and I was still stuck 5 years later, waiting for an apology that would never come. I woke up at 6 a.m., hadn't really slept, just drifted in and out, my mind churning. I made coffee, checked my phone, no new messages. I don't know what I was expecting. An explanation? An actual apology? An acknowledgement that he just accidentally destroyed his son? Nothing. I tried to work, opened the podcast edit, put on my headphones, stared at the screen. I couldn't focus. Every 5 minutes, I'd check my phone, just in case. Nothing. Around noon, I did something I hadn't done in years. I searched for my father online. Social media, public records, anything. I found him on a professional networking site. His profile was updated. Still running the insurance business. Still in the same office. There was a photo, recent. He looked older, grayer, thinner, and there was another profile linked to his. A man named Mark Holloway, mid-50s, worked in real estate. Profile picture showed a smiling man with silver hair and kind eyes. They'd both listed their relationship status as engaged. I stared at Mark Holloway's profile for a long time. This was the person my father had chosen, the person he was building a life with, the person he'd apologized to. And I felt nothing. Not jealousy, not anger, just emptiness. Because it wasn't about Mark Holloway. It was about the fact that my father had moved on, built a new life, found new happiness, and I hadn't even crossed his mind. I closed the browser and sat there, staring at my desk. I thought about calling him, actually calling, not just texting, forcing a conversation. Hey, Dad, remember me? Your son? The one you disowned 5 years ago? Just wanted to let you know I accidentally got your apology text last night. Real nice to find out you're engaged. Congrats, by the way. So glad you're happy. But what would that accomplish? He'd made his choice, and clearly, it didn't include me. I spent the next few days in a fog. I went through the motions, worked on projects, met with clients, edited audio, but I felt disconnected from everything. Ryan checked in on me. So did a few other friends. I told them I was fine. They didn't believe me. You should reach out to him, Ryan said over drinks on Thursday. Tell him how you feel. Get closure. What's the point? The point is, you're walking around like a zombie. You need to deal with this. There's nothing to deal with. He moved on. End of story. Mark, drop it. He did. But I could tell he was worried. On Friday night, I was alone in my apartment, half watching some streaming show. When my phone buzzed, my heart jumped. Stupid, reflexive hope. It wasn't my father. It was Jess, my ex. Hey, I know this is random, but I heard you were going through something. Just wanted to check in. You okay? I stared at the message. I hadn't talked to Jess in over a year. We'd ended things on decent terms, but we hadn't stayed in touch. The fact that she was reaching out meant Ryan had told someone who'd told someone else who'd told her. I typed back, I'm fine. Thanks for checking. Her response came immediately. That's what you always say. But I know you, Mark. You're not fine. I didn't respond. She sent another message. You don't have to talk to me about it, but you should talk to someone. Don't do what you always do. Don't shut everyone out. I set the phone down. She was right. I knew she was right, but I didn't know how to stop. On Saturday, I did something I knew I shouldn't do, but I did it anyway. I looked up my father's address. He was still in the same house, the house I grew up in, and then I drove there. I don't know what I was planning. To knock on the door? To confront him? To just sit in my car and stare at the place? I parked across the street, 2 houses down, and just watched. The house looked the same. Same white siding, same blue shutters, same oak tree in the front yard that I used to climb as a kid. But there were differences. The lawn was better maintained. There were new flowers in the beds. A different car in the driveway. Not my father's old sedan, but a newer SUV. I sat there for an hour, maybe more. And then the front door opened. My father stepped out. He was wearing casual clothes, jeans, a sweater. He looked good, healthy, happy. Behind him was Mark Holloway. I recognized him from his profile picture. They were laughing about something. My father said something, and Mark playfully shoved his shoulder. They walked to the SUV together, and I watched my father, the man who'd told me I wasn't his son anymore, smile in a way I hadn't seen in years, maybe ever. They got in the car and drove away. I sat there for another 20 minutes, staring at the empty driveway. My father was happy. He'd moved on. He'd built a new life, found a new partner, and he was thriving. And I was sitting in my car 5 years later, still broken by a fight I couldn't let go of. I drove home. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt hollow. On Sunday morning, I woke up and made a decision. I opened my phone, went to my messages, found the conversation with my father, and I typed out a message, a real one. Dad, it's Mark, your son. I know you didn't mean to text me the other night. I know the apology was for someone else, but I need to say this anyway. 5 years ago, you told me I wasn't your son anymore, and I've spent every day since then trying to understand why, trying to figure out what I did wrong, trying to convince myself I didn't care. But I do care. I've always cared. And finding out you've moved on, that you're happy, that you're getting married, it's good. I'm glad you're happy. But it also hurts, because it means you really did mean what you said. I'm not part of your life anymore. I'm not your son. I'm just a wrong number, a stranger. I don't expect you to respond to this. I don't expect anything from you. I just needed you to know that I'm here. I've always been here, and I wish things had been different. I read it over 3 times, and then I deleted it. Because what was the point? He'd made his choice, and nothing I said would change that. Instead, I typed something else. I'm happy for you. Good luck with everything. Short, simple, final. I hit send, and then I went to his contact, held my thumb over delete, and this time, I pressed it. The first few days after deleting his contact were strange. I kept reaching for my phone, opening my messages, expecting to see his name, and then remembering it wasn't there anymore. It felt like a loss, even though the relationship had been gone for 5 years. Having his contact, his number, his photo felt like I was still holding on to something, a possibility, a hope. Now there was nothing. Work helped. I threw myself into projects, took on more clients than I could handle, worked 12, 14-hour days. If I was working, I wasn't thinking. And if I wasn't thinking, I wasn't hurting, Ryan noticed. You're gonna burn yourself out. I'm fine. Mark, I'm handling it. He didn't push, but I could see the concern in his eyes. 3 weeks after deleting the contact, I got a call from an unknown number. My heart jumped. Stupid, reflexive hope. I answered, "Hello? Is this Mark Vance?" A woman's voice. Professional, unfamiliar. "Yes, this is Karen from Greenfield Insurance. I'm calling because we have some paperwork that needs your signature. Your father listed you as..." "I'm sorry, who?" "Your father, Robert Vance. He's updating his estate plan and listed you as..." "I think you have the wrong number. This is Mark Vance, correct?" "Yes, but..." "Then I have the right number. Your father..." "My father and I don't have a relationship. I'm not involved in his estate planning. You should contact someone else." There was a pause. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. He has you listed as his primary beneficiary, so I assumed..." "He what?" "His primary beneficiary. For the business, the house, everything. It's all set to go to you." I sat down. "That doesn't make sense. We haven't spoken in 5 years." "Well, according to the documents we have on file, you're still listed. These were drawn up about 8 years ago. If he wanted to change them, he would have needed to file new paperwork, and we don't have anything like that. So, I'm still..." "Yes, if anything were to happen to him, everything would go to you." I hung up a few minutes later, my mind reeling. My father had disowned me, told me I wasn't his son, moved on with his life. But he'd never changed his will. I was still his heir, still the person who would inherit everything. What did that mean? Did it mean he still thought of me as his son, deep down? That he'd never actually let go? Or did it just mean he'd been too busy with his new life to bother with paperwork? I didn't know, and I had no way to find out without reaching out, which I wasn't going to do. So I just sat with the information, let it twist around in my mind, adding another layer of confusion to an already impossible situation. A month after the text, I was at a coffee shop near the studio, just grabbing a latte before a session. I was standing in line, scrolling through my phone, when I heard a voice behind me. "Mark?" I froze. I knew that voice. I turned around. My father was standing there, 3 feet away, looking at me with an expression I couldn't read. For a moment, neither of us said anything. He looked older up close, more gray hair, lines around his eyes I didn't remember, but he looked healthy, put together. "Hi," I finally managed. "Hi." He shifted his weight, uncomfortable. I didn't expect to see you here." "Yeah, I work nearby." "Oh, that's good." Silence. "So?" I said, because one of us had to say something. "Congratulations on the engagement." He blinked. "How did you..." And then realization crossed his face. "The text." "Yeah, the text. I'm sorry about that. I got a new phone, and I must have..." "It's fine. You don't need to explain." "No, He ran a hand through his hair. "That must have been confusing. I didn't realize." "That you'd accidentally apologize to your son instead of your fiancé?" Yeah, it was pretty confusing. His face tightened. Mark, it's fine. Really, I'm happy for you. You seem good. I am. Things are good. Good. Another silence. How are you? He asked, and it sounded forced. Polite. The way you'd ask a stranger. I'm fine. Working. Doing my thing. Still with the sound engineering? Yeah, that's good. I'm glad it worked out. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab him and shake him and ask him how he could stand there, acting like we were distant acquaintances, catching up when he was the one who destroyed everything. But instead, I just said, thanks. The barista called my name. My order was ready. I should go, I said. I have a session. Right, of course. He hesitated. It was good to see you, Mark. Yeah, you too. I grabbed my coffee and walked out. I didn't look back. I made it to the studio, set up for the session. My client showed up on time, a musician working on her first EP. We got through the first 2 takes. And then, mid-third take, I just stopped. She was singing, pouring her heart into this song, and I was sitting there behind the mixing board, staring at the levels, and I couldn't hear anything. All I could hear was my father's voice. It was good to see you, Mark. Like I was an old colleague, a former neighbor, someone he used to know. Mark, you okay? The musician was looking at me through the glass, concerned. Yeah, sorry, let's take 5. She nodded and stepped out of the booth. I sat there, staring at the equipment, and then I put my head in my hands. 5 years. 5 years of waiting, of hoping, of telling myself I didn't care, of pretending I'd moved on. And in 5 minutes in a coffee shop, I'd gotten my answer. He didn't care. He'd never cared. I was just the son who'd disappointed him, who'd chosen wrong. And he'd moved on so completely, so thoroughly, that seeing me was just a mild inconvenience. A brief, awkward encounter with someone from his past. The session didn't happen. I apologized to the musician, rescheduled, and closed up the studio. And then I went home, climbed into bed, and didn't get up for 2 days. Ryan showed up on Tuesday, let himself in with the spare key I'd given him months ago. You're not answering your phone. I was on the couch, still in the same clothes I'd been wearing when I saw my father. I'm fine. You're not fine. What happened? I told him about the coffee shop, about seeing my father, about the conversation that wasn't really a conversation. Ryan sat down next to me. I'm sorry, man. It's okay. It's not okay. None of this is okay. I didn't respond. You need to stop doing this to yourself, he said. You need to let it go. I know. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you're still holding on to something that's been dead for 5 years, and it's killing you. I know, I said again, and this time, I meant it. That night, after Ryan left, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. I pulled up a blank document and started writing. Not to my father, not to anyone, just for myself. I wrote about the fight, about the 5 years, about the text, about seeing him in the coffee shop, and I wrote about what I'd been too scared to admit. I'd been waiting for him to come back, to change his mind, to tell me he was sorry and that he still loved me, but he wasn't coming back. He'd moved on, and I needed to move on too. It took me 3 hours to write everything, every feeling, every memory, every moment of pain and hope and anger. And when I was done, I saved the document, closed the laptop, and felt something shift inside me. I'd spent 5 years in limbo, waiting, hoping, holding on to a relationship that didn't exist anymore. But I was done waiting. The next morning, I woke up early, made coffee, opened the studio, and I worked. Not frantically, not desperately, just worked. Because I loved it. Because it was mine. Because it was the thing I'd chosen, even when it meant losing everything else. Over the next few weeks, I started saying yes to things I'd been avoiding. Drinks with friends, a hiking trip, a weekend workshop on advanced sound design. I started dating again. Nothing serious, just meeting people, having conversations, seeing what happened. And slowly, very slowly, I started feeling like myself again. 3 months after the coffee shop encounter, I got a piece of mail, an invitation, printed on thick, expensive cardstock. Robert Vance and Mark Halloway request the honor of your presence at their wedding. I stared at it for a long time. He'd invited me. After everything, after 5 years of silence, after that awkward encounter, he'd sent me a wedding invitation. I didn't know what to make of it. Was it a peace offering? An obligation? A way to clear his conscience? I called Ryan. What do you think it means? I asked. I don't know. What do you want it to mean? I don't know. Are you going to go? I looked at the invitation, at my father's name, printed in elegant script. No, I said. I'm not. I didn't RSVP, didn't call, didn't send a gift. I just let it go. Because showing up wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't give me closure. It wouldn't make him love me. It would just be another painful reminder that I was no longer part of his life. And I was done with painful reminders. On the day of the wedding, I was working. A big project, a full album for an indie band that was starting to get real traction. I'd thought about the wedding all week, wondered what it would be like, wondered if he'd notice I wasn't there. But when the day actually came, I was okay. I wasn't great. I wasn't healed, but I was okay. That evening, after the session, I drove to the park. The same park I'd gone to the night of the text. I sat on a bench and watched the sun set, and I thought about my mom, about how she would have handled this, about what she would have told me. She would have said, "You did the right thing, Mark. You chose yourself. And that's not selfish. That's survival." My phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. "How you doing?" "I'm okay." "You sure?" "Yeah, I'm sure." And I meant it. It's been a year since the text. Since "I'm sorry for everything." Since "Who is this?" I think about my father sometimes. Wonder how he's doing. Wonder if he ever thinks about me. But I don't let it consume me anymore. The studio is doing well. Better than well. I'm booked solid for the next 3 months. I've worked with artists I genuinely admire. I've built something real. I'm dating someone. Her name is Lauren. She's a graphic designer. We've been together for 6 months, and it's good, healthy. She knows about my father. I told her early on, because Jess was right. I was emotionally unavailable, and I didn't want to make that mistake again. Lauren doesn't try to fix it. She just listens, and that's enough. Last week, I got another call from Greenfield Insurance. "Mr. Vance, we're calling to inform you that your father has updated his estate plan. You're no longer listed as primary beneficiary. We wanted to make sure you were aware." "Okay, thank you for letting me know. Is there anything else we can help you with?" "No, that's it." I hung up, and I felt relief. Because it was final. He'd moved on, and so had I. I don't have his contact anymore. I don't have photos of him. I don't have anything that ties me to him. But I have something else. I have the life I built, the choices I made, the people I care about, and I have peace. Not complete peace, not perfect peace, but enough. Sometimes late at night, I still think about that text. I'm sorry for everything, and I wonder what would have happened if he'd actually meant it for me, if he'd actually reached out, if we'd actually talked. But I don't dwell on it, because the truth is, it doesn't matter what could have been. What matters is what is. And what is this. I'm okay. I'm moving forward, and I'm done waiting for an apology that will never come. My father made his choice 5 years ago, and last year, standing in that coffee shop, he confirmed it. I'm not his son anymore. I'm not part of his life. I'm not the Mark he says I'm sorry to. But that's okay, because I don't need to be. I'm my own person now. I have my own life, my own purpose, my own people, and that's enough. The ring is still in my drawer, the fake one, the perfect, flawless forgery. Wait, no, wrong story. I still have the invitation, the wedding invitation. It's in a box in my closet, along with other things from my past I can't quite throw away yet. Maybe someday I will. Maybe someday I won't need to keep proof that he thought of me, even briefly, even obligatorily. But for now, it stays. A reminder that I survived this.